I started this up, I call it Aussies and Kiwis around Eugene, because I thought and felt that from my military history and what Anzac stood for, I thought it was a good representation of what this group's about.
The last thing, as a lot of you know, I'm a physio, so I've been lucky enough to treat a few Vietnam vets, and what I noticed about talking to them was when they talk, because usually a lot of the New Zealand and Australian soldiers have served together in Vietnam and Korea and things like that, and they like to rib each other and give each other a hard time when they're playing cricket and rugby and all that sort of stuff. But when it comes right down to it, if you talk to any
You're
of
not
them...
talking about Greg Chatwell.
No wonder
That was Trevor.
but when you talk to them though, and they're fighting, they would rather have no one else that would have their back than one of the Aussies or the Kiwis. So they really stick together, and when it comes right down to it, they would much rather be depending on each other than any other soldiers, I think. So it's kind of interesting talking to them.
Well, it's a long camaraderie when you think about it. Back from the First World War.
First World War, long time.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, that's all I have to say.
Good one.
Well done, Stu. Well, mine kind of reiterates some of what Stu's was and what we talked about last year, and I'm just going to do the same one because I think, one, I don't want to make it lengthy. The other side of the coin is, I think it kind of epitomises the spirit of Australians and New Zealanders, and it goes back, you know, it's coming on 100 years, I think in 3 years' time. Exactly why is the day special for Australians? War broke out in 1914. From Australia's point of view, Australia had been a federal commonwealth for 13 years. The new government was eager to establish a reputation among the nations of the world. In 1915, Australian and New Zealand soldiers formed part of the Allied expedition that set out to capture Gallipoli Peninsula in order to open up the Dardanelles to the Allied navies. Being a Navy man, that's a good thing. But unfortunately, they lost a lot of lives, as we all know. The ultimate objective was to capture Constantinople, now Istanbul in Turkey, the capital of the Ottoman Empire, an ally of Germany. The Australian New Zealand forces landed Gallipoli on 25th of April, meeting fierce resistance from the Ottoman Turkish defenders. What had been planned as a bold stroke to knock out Turkey out of the war quickly became a stalemate, and the campaign dragged on for 8 months. And Stu mentioned the numbers that died. At the end of 1915, the Allied forces were evacuated after both sides had suffered heavy casualties and endured great hardships. Over 8,000 Australian soldiers have been killed. I can't remember what Stu said of the New Zealand soldiers. 2,700, so that's, you know, close to 11,000 have died. News of the landing on Gallipoli had made a profound impact on Australians at home, and I'm sure New Zealanders. And 25th of April soon became the day in which Australia and New Zealand remembered the sacrifice of those who died in war. The 25th of April was officially named Anzac Day in 1916, and it was embarked by a wide variety of ceremonies and services in Australia. A march through London. In fact, when I was watching last week, they were talking about William getting married. I don't know who saw it, who didn't see it. But I haven't been to London, but they talked about Australia Gate. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if it was around Trafalgar Square there somewhere.
They had Australia Gate, and they had the tomb of the unknown soldier with all the puppies on it for his wedding.
It's right out the front of Buckingham Palace.
So it's actually great to have the history even in London. March through London on a sports day in the Australian camp in Egypt. Funny, you were talking about Egypt back then, and of course we've got the scenario in Egypt now.